Hey everyone, this is David Pike, the MotorCity mechanic. Now in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Chrysler 3.2 and 3.6 liter Pentastar engines. And we're going to be dealing mainly with what needs to be replaced when you've got a bad roller rocker arm. Not necessarily the rocker arms, but mainly about the camshafts, because there is some damage that occurs when that rocker arm fails. But how much damage really means replacing a camshaft? So I'm going to give you my opinion on that, and I'm going to show you the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. So make sure to check it out. Now on the Pentastar engines, there are a couple common complaints that we get with customers. Mainly it's based off of mileage and time. And the first one is they got a tapping sound coming from the engine. They may also have a check engine light that's skipping, or all the above. Now typically the noise is coming from the upper valve train area, and you can usually diagnose which side it is. At that point you take the valve cover off, and what you find is you've got a bad roller rocker. Now what happens is that roller rocker has needle bearings around that roller, and those needle bearings will fail, and two things happen. You either get excessive play, which causes the noise, or the roller actually seizes up and then it starts digging into that cam lobe, and then you've got misfire codes and you've got a noise. Now the repair for that obviously is to replace all the rockers, at least on that side, if not all of them in the engine. Now the issue we run across is how much damage occurred to the camshaft. Now there's some cosmetic damage on the outside edge, and then there's physical damage in the center. And I want to show you both of those, and we're going to make a determination based off of just experience and my opinion on whether or not I would replace it. Now the Pentastar engine is an overhead cam design. We've got a total of 2 exhaust and 2 intake camshafts, and they're paired both for the left and the right side. Now each cylinder head has 12 rockers and 12 lifters. There's a total of 24 of each on this engine. Now the lifter itself is sitting inside of a board that's machined into a passage on the cylinder head, and sandwiched between that lifter and the camshaft is a rocker arm. Now in order to remove it, what you're supposed to do is remove the tension on the chain, position the camshaft in a certain location, undo the cam bearing caps, remove the camshafts. Then you can actually grab each one of the rocker arms, and if you want to, replace the lifters at that point. Now there's some tricks you can use for getting them out, but the correct way without causing any kind of damage is actually to remove the camshafts. So what we have here is a camshaft that is saved from a previous repair. Now for those of you that aren't familiar with what a camshaft is, it's a control device that we use for opening and closing either the intake or exhaust valves, or a combination of both depending on the engine. Now these can be machined out of one piece of metal, or they can be pressed together. It really just depends on the brand and the manufacturer and what they use. Now it's connected either at the front or the rear by either a chain or a belt to the crankshaft, and as it spins around, we've got this machined surfaces here. We've got some that are just bearing surfaces, and others are what we call cam lobes. Now from this angle it looks like it's the same diameter all the way around. If we start rotating it, what you're going to see is we've got a peak right here. Now that peak actually is what makes contact with the rocker arm, which then opens and closes the intake or exhaust valves. Now I want you to pay real close attention to the cam lobes. Even from this distance you can see something obvious. There is some discoloration. The outside 1/8 of an inch of the cam lobes is not the same shade as the center. And the reason why is the roller rocker. The roller portion itself is not the same width as the cam lobe. The cam lobe is wider. So that section right here in the center is actually what the roller is making contact with. That's why there's a discoloration. So it never rides on the outer edge, only on the center. Now when a roller rocker fails and the needle bearings wear out, that roller is allowed to move. So instead of the roller making contact, it moves out of position, and that frame that holds the roller in place makes contact. Now it's going to make contact on the outer portions, not the section that the roller rides on. Now looking at the first lobe on this cam, you can actually see that we've got some wear areas right there on the outer edges. This is where a failed rocker was in position. Needle bearings went out, the frame made contact with the camshaft and wore onto the outer edge, mainly where the peak was, not around the rest of it. Now like I mentioned before, the roller rides in the center. So when you go to replace it with a new rocker arm, we don't have to worry about the outer edges wearing. It's only going to ride in the center. So any kind of damage here on the edges, to me, basically is cosmetic. This camshaft is around $300. Now typically you only see one that has damage, but if they've driven it for a long period of time, depending on how many rocker arms failed, you could have multiples of this. So you could anywhere from $300 to $600 worth of just camshafts, not to mention if you go and do the lifters and the rocker arms. In my opinion, if we replace that rocker arm, the rocker arm now is going to ride in the center portion. We're not worried about the outer, remember? We can see by the wear on this one that it never makes contact. As long as the peak of this is still nice and shiny, no unusual wear patterns, this camshaft is still reusable. A lot of repair shops will replace this. They see any kind of damage, that's just what they do. It's kind of a gray area. I want you to use your common sense. Now in the past I've replaced these, and in the past I haven't. And I can tell you that the ones that I left alone, once I started looking at it a little more in detail, I haven't had any problems. Now if they drive it for too long, we got a different issue. And this right here is what happens when you don't fix the problem and you keep driving. Look real close at this cam lobe. Not only do we have wear on the outer edges, but the wear is so extreme that it actually has raised sections where the metal has actually been formed into a peak. On this one, obviously the roller seized up. It dug into the center, and eventually that frame dug on the outside edge as well. And again, we've got the two raised areas. If we go down the length, we can actually see that some of these cam lobes are not shiny. There is wear. So we had multiple failures, not just one. This camshaft has to be replaced. The one I just showed you previously, again, use your judgment. I personally don't think you need to. So hopefully you learned something new today about whether or not you should be replacing those camshafts based off of the wear that I showed. Obviously there's exceptions to every rule. I showed you that. There was a worst case scenario where you have no choice but to replace that camshaft. But again, if the damage is only on the outside edges and that new replacement roller rocker rides on the center, you should be fine. Just based off of experience, I haven't had any problems with the ones that I've reused that look like I showed you in this video. So if you like everything you saw, please give it a big thumbs up on YouTube. Don't forget you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If this is the first time you saw any of my videos, please make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as that bell icon so that you get notified every time that a new video like this gets uploaded. Also, if you got any questions about anything in this video, leave something in the comments below, or you can email me at david@motorcitymechanic.com. Last but not least, if you like to shop on Amazon, which everybody does, scroll down and there's going to be a link in the description. Click on that link and make that your Amazon homepage. And anytime you buy something, it'll help support this channel. Once again, everybody, thanks for always watching.